WDEF News 12 this morning with Rachel Ash, meteorologist Brian Smith, and your time-saver traffic tracker with Sunny 92.3's James Howard.
And welcome back to WDEF News 12. This morning, it is time for How Does Your Garden Grow? And if you got a question, feel free to give us a call. Tim Holcomb joining us from the Holcomb Garden Center. 756-1212 is the phone number. Again, 756-1212 will get you in contact with the expert, Mr. Tim Holcomb himself. And we appreciate you coming in here this morning.
Good to be here.
Now, of course, last couple of mornings we've been talking about how chilly it's been, 30s, low 40s, and we're thinking, uh-oh, things are beginning to, kind of wind down for the growing season, but then pansies.
Well, sure.
I love it.
The summer flowers are kind of at their end. They've struggled through the hot, dry summer. Pull those up, put out some fresh pansies. And I brought in this morning some violas, which are nothing more than a miniature pansy. And those are incredibly heat tolerant as well. So they will go even longer next summer than the regular pansies will. But people look at them and say, well, they're tiny blooms, but they'll have about 4 or 5 times as many blooms, so you still get a lot of color. They do very, very well.
I think that's one of the good things about pansies and some of these is that there's just so many different colors out there, and I think that's what's the treat there. All right, we're going to move into our callers. Our first one is Annette. Good morning to you, Annette.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
I'm fixing to move, and I've got roses, gardenias, and everything. I want to know if it's going to be safe to dig them up now and move them.
Well, yes, ma'am. The best time to do it certainly would be November through February. So if you're fixing to move, you're right at that point. Go ahead and dig them up and plant them in the new spot as soon as possible. Water them good with root stimulator, and they should do fine for you.
Moving right along, Candy is our next caller. Good morning to you, Candy.
Yes, I have a hibiscus plant and an azalea bush that needs to be taken care of. What do I need to do to fix that?
Okay, on the hibiscus, it could be a hardy hibiscus or a tropical hibiscus. If it's tropical, you need to bring that in right away. If it's a hardy one, it will die down to the ground. You cut off those dead stalks, and it'll come back next year without any problem. Your azalea bush, be time to feed it with winterizer, as well as all your trees, shrubs, perennials, and even the lawn. The winterizer feeding is what gets it ready for the winter.
Once again, we're answering your gardening questions, 756-1212. Chris is our next phone caller. Good morning to you, Chris.
Good morning, sir.
Hi.
I'm from South Texas. We had St. Augustine grass down there.
Yes, sir.
And as our yard would basically sink, we could have a truckload of sand brought in, spread out across the yard to kind of bring some level back to it.
Yes, sir.
The house I'm living in, I literally have a 1/2 inch to 1 inch of soil on top of crush and run.
Okay.
And didn't know if that was something I could do here in Tennessee as well by putting sand down, or if there's something I could put down on top of the grass that would let the grass come through it and give the soil a little more depth.
Well, what kind of grass do you have now?
I'm using a bag I bought from y'all, the Tennessee fescue.
The fescue, yes, sir. Typical in the fescues, you would just barely overdress them. The St. Augustine and warm season grasses like Bermuda and Georgia, you could certainly put even 1 inch of sand or soil over them and they would grow up through it. The fescues you do not want to bury deep, because if you bury the crown of the plant, it will not come back up through it. So it's best just to keep it fed and watered. The soil you've got is sufficient as long as you keep food and water, and it'll do very well.
Dorothy's our next caller. Good morning to you, Dorothy.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
I have a off question here. I have a bonsai tree. I've gotten books on how to trim it back. I've had it for years.
Yes, ma'am.
I just don't have it in me to do it. And is there somewhere, or could you do that if I brought the tree to you?
Well, we don't trim bonsai, but they are very easy to do. It's just a matter of shaping it up and keeping it under control. You have a very limited root space in that container, so you want to balance the roots with the top growth. And anything that's grown recently, you can just clip it off and just maintain the same size for 10, 20, 30, or 100 years. But it's not that tough. Just bite the bullet and give it a little haircut.
Mike is our next caller. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey. Yeah, listen, I've got a lilac bush that's kind of getting out of control.
Yes, sir.
We planted a few years ago in memory of my mother-in-law, and we don't know how to trim it or prune it or what to do, and it's getting like probably over 12 feet tall now, and we wanted it to be more of a bush than a tree.
Okay. Well, the best thing to do, if you can wait till after it blooms next spring and then trim it. If you cut it back now, it will not hurt the bush whatsoever, but you'll be cutting off all the blooms for next spring. So allow it to bloom next spring and then give it a good haircut and just maintain the size. give it a good trim again about the middle of summer, and it'll be fine for the following year.
Give it a good haircut. I love that.
Give it a good haircut.
All right, folks. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We're going to put the information on the screen. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact the Holcomb Garden Center. He's got 2 locations, one on Highway 153 in Hickson. You can't miss it. And also the other one on Battlefield Parkway in Fort Oglethorpe. There's the phone numbers on the screen, but the easiest way to find out all the information you need is to go to their website, holcombgc.com. Again, holcombgc.com. We appreciate you stopping by this morning.
Thank you very much, Brian.
All right, folks, we're going to take a short break. We have a lot more to come here on WDEF News 12 this morning.